Hey everybody, Frank Chen here with REIClub.com, the only site you'll need as a real estate investor. Today's quick video, we're going to talk about some strategies that are going to help you avoid having to collect on those late rent checks from your rental properties. Now, if you've ever been a landlord or you plan to be, probably one of the biggest headaches is having to collect rent checks on time. Now, my motto is if I have to pay my mortgage on time every month, then you better believe that my tenants are going to have to pay their rent on time every month. Now, the first thing I want to talk about are the basics to collecting your real estate rent, okay, or your rental property rent. Like every tenant, they're going to have to fill out a rental application, okay, and this is where you get to perform your necessary due diligence. You know, your credit checks, credit history, a rental history, and I do encourage you to spend quite a bit of time here in order to find a good quality tenant. Now, once you've done so, it's very important that you set very clear expectations, letting them know how much rent is due, what's included in rent, are utilities included, you know, who do they make the checks payable to, where do they pay it to. But what I've done is I've included a longer list in the description below that you can use as your personal checklist. Now, it's important that you emphasize, you know, such things as your late fees and late penalties, okay? Whether it's a dollar amount per day the rent is not paid, or a flat percentage fee, maybe 5 to 10% of the total rent until the late rent is paid off in full, okay? Now, you also want to make clear to your tenant what their payment options are. Whether they can provide you with a pre-printed deposit slip for their direct deposits, or they can pay you via money order, cash. There are even systems out there that allow you to set up your properties for online payments for credit card and debit cards. Now, I do encourage you to avoid personal checks, okay? Avoid personal checks because they do bounce, and it's your responsibility as a landlord to collect those fees, okay? Once you're charged for them, of course. It's a bit of a hassle, just avoid personal checks. Now, it's also very important to keep everything in writing, okay? Anything outside the original lease agreement, say there's a late payment, you come up to another understanding, make sure they sign that, and it's purely for the courts in case it goes that far, okay? Now, for those who own multifamily, you know, or maybe rent to students, you know, there's 3 or 4 or 5 students under one household, rather than collecting multiple checks, which is a headache, just tell them to put all in one check. It'll make it much easier for you. And of course, I always tell this to people, last resort, use management agencies unless, of course, you have a lot of volume you're dealing with. And the reason why is management agencies are a business. They tend to take emotions out of the equation, which I think is incredibly important for a landlord, okay, to have, or a successful landlord. Every person's situation is different, and it's your job to listen and adjust accordingly. Management agencies tend to not do that as much, okay? Next thing I want to talk about are your late real estate rental payments. How do you collect on that? The moment your rent is late, it's important that you immediately send a notification letter and be sure to date it, okay? Also, you want to include information about their penalty, letting them know that you have 7 days, 14 days, whatever their grace period is to pay this amount. Otherwise, they will be penalized for this amount. It's very important you set clear expectations, like I said before. Anytime you send a letter, make sure it's certified mail that you can hold for your records. And it's important you send multiple notices, maybe once every week for the duration of the month until they contact you, okay? Make sure there's no arguments, verbal fights, or threats in the mail or even by phone, because I guarantee you it will bite you in the butt, okay? Now, it's very important to brush up on your state laws for eviction. I know some states require a sheriff to be present to enact the eviction, but like I said, it does vary by state, the guidelines, as well as the time period allotted for your tenant to respond to your letters and notification, as well as pay you. So it's important that you brush up on that. And of course, if they don't pay you, you haven't heard from them, they're just frankly just a flat out bad tenant, you start your eviction proceedings, okay? Now, this last section is called collecting rent after move out. It happens on the rare occasion, but long story short, you can look in the description below, but basically, don't spend your time trying to collect a few $100 or even $1,000. It's better worth your time to find a better tenant just to replace that old one, okay? Now, in real estate, guys, the real estate game, flexibility is truly the key. Every tenant will have their own story. It's very important for you to kind of identify who the good tenants are, who the bad tenants are, and you adjust accordingly to them, okay? But trust me when I say you'll know the difference when you cross that bridge. Now, as long as you set clear expectations, maintain constant communication, and perform the necessary due diligence, more than likely you're going to end up with a quality tenant who's going to be paying you rent on time, okay? Again, guys, this is Frank Chen with REIClub.com. I hope this video gave you a better perspective of how to better manage your rental properties. Do me a favor, leave comments below about what you thought about the video. Click the like button because it really does help us out. But more importantly, subscribe to our YouTube channel so we can keep you informed when brand new videos are posted every week. As usual, guys, thank you so much for your time. I look forward to talking to you next week. Take care, good investing, and bye-bye.